Every time we lift our heads from our work to consider how our actions affect the future, we begin to think strategically. Every time we consider how other people respond to our actions, we are thinking strategically. Strategic thinking is a way of making sense of the complex world around us. It's a way of peering into the future without fear, but rather with a surety and confidence that our actions today will yield the best possible outcome tomorrow. Let's take an example from sports, from a game that is dear to the hearts of many Americans and one of the most instructive of games where strategy is concerned, American football. Even if you've never enjoyed or even understood a game of American football, I think you'll find that it is an especially tractable game to strategic analysis. There is an explicitly gladiatorial ethos. It's complex, and the content is perhaps surprisingly cerebral. Let's focus on a crucial 10 to 15 seconds in the game. Now, this is the time between the call of a play and the snap of the ball to start the play. During these crucial seconds, much of a strategic nature happens on both sides of the ball. The offense is called a play, a plan, if you will, to achieve the intermediate objective of moving the ball to achieve a first down. This plan is according to a particular situation on the field. The distance to achieve a first down, the number of downs remaining, the distance needed to score. These are all objective positional aspects that we consider when we decide which play to call. The defense looks at the same situation on the field and calls a plan to resist the offense. And that's it. Then the play is executed. Right? Wrong. Circumstances change rapidly, and the great commander, the capable strategic thinker, must be able to respond properly and promptly. What happens next is where truly powerful strategy emerges. As the quarterback walks to the line of scrimmage, he has but seconds before the play must be launched, the ball snapped. In this 10 to 15 second window, he surveys the defense. He looks at their formation. He tries to recognize the pass coverage, whether zone or man-to-man coverage. He looks for clues in the posture of the players as to what the defense might do. He surveys his environment right up to the moment of execution of the plan. And if changes in that environment make it necessary, he will change the plan. The defense, too, is acting. It is disguising its coverage. Key players are moving around, feinting and deceiving, giving false signals. In that narrow window of time between the break of the huddle and the snap of the ball, the quarterback collects information on his opponent. He processes it, and he may change the play as a reaction to the other team's anticipated course of action. And then he executes that play, continuing his adjustments as the play develops. A premier example of a quarterback with this combination of insight and ability to execute is Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana. His former coach, Bill Walsh, also in the Hall of Fame, put it this way: the single trait that separates great quarterbacks from good quarterbacks is the ability to make the great, spontaneous decision, especially at a crucial time. The clock is running down, and your team is 5 points behind. The play that was called has broken down, and 22 players are moving in almost unpredictable directions all over the field. This is where the great quarterback uses his experience, his vision, mobility, and what we will call spontaneous genius. He makes something good happen. This ability to change the plan and make something good happen is what distinguishes genuine strategy. It is the dynamic of action and response that yields optimum results throughout a game as a team's strategy is executed. The strategic action-response dynamic I just described comes to us not merely from the Football Hall of Fame. It goes back more than 2,000 years to the time of Sun Tzu in ancient Greece. Now imagine sitting at a conference table with the greatest strategic thinkers of all time, Sun Tzu and Hannibal, Machiavelli, Napoleon, and Clausewitz. Add in business strategists like Michael Porter, Gary Hamel, and C.K. Prahalad, and a winning coach like Vince Lombardi. Add in great political leaders like Winston Churchill, CEOs from top companies, and the most successful entertainers and media figures. What would you ask them? How might their insights transform you into a powerful and capable strategic thinker? Let's find out over the course of 24 lectures. We aren't born with a fully developed ability or desire to think strategically. It's a skill that must be cultivated and practiced. Many people simply don't think strategically. If anything, some people do the exact opposite of thinking strategically. They consciously reject thinking about tomorrow. They think only of today. Philosophically, this might be akin to an eat, drink, and be merry view of life. For example, young people who enjoy a good party awaken in the morning with awful hangover headaches and who swear they'll never do it again. And yet, they repeat their behavior the following weekend and the next, either forgetting about the inevitable result or thinking that the after effects somehow might be different this time. This kind of thinking is also prevalent in the workplace. I call this cognitive confinement or static thinking. It happens in sports too. I recall the old chant from my college days when we had a particularly unimaginative coach. When he found something that wouldn't work, he stuck to it. It led to chants from the bleachers, up the middle, up the middle, up the middle, punt. This, of course, referred to his predictable play calling that led to predictable on-field results. The great physicist Albert Einstein observed that insanity is the propensity to do the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results each time. This is the very antithesis of thinking strategically, and this occurs in the workplace more often than we'd like to admit. Many of our associates don't engage in a methodical process of questioning, evaluation of assumptions, investigation, information gathering, analysis, planning, and then action. Many people simply function in routines they don't question. Perhaps they live life day to day. Perhaps they face the same problems every day, always losing their keys, always getting caught in traffic in the same place at the same time, always dealing with the same bottlenecks at work, unable to get people around them to work together toward common goals, always working at cross purposes with other people, teams, or divisions. We all think about the future on occasion, of course, but there's a tremendous difference between strategic thinking and daydreaming about what might be. Strategic thinking is about setting goals and developing long-range plans to reach those goals, plans based on careful analysis of internal and external environments and on the actions of others. Strategy is future-oriented. Strategic thinking involves thinking logically and deeply about the future. It means embracing the idea that where we want to be 5 years from now, 5 months from now, should inform what we do today. This notion of strategic thinking is shaped greatly by military influence, and this hardly surprises us, since the military arts have developed a vast historical treasure of strategic theory and practice. But strategic thinking is not necessarily military in character. It's simply a way of looking at the world with engagement and with purpose in mind. My own background and my approach to strategy in this course combines approaches from the military, business, sports, and politics. As a fencer in college, I learned what all sportsmen learn with regard to battling with an opponent, the importance of studying the competition, learning as much as you can about his tendencies, his habits, his weaknesses. Later, as a young military intelligence officer during the Cold War in West Germany, I was introduced to the deeper aspects of competitor analysis and the importance of retaining flexibility on the battlefield during the execution of any plan. Now, I teach strategic management at a major university, and the lessons of competition remain robust and equally applicable. I think the best approach to strategy, as you'll see, is to learn what we can from the long history of military strategy, but also to give equal attention to strategy in business, in politics, in sports, and in other aspects of life. To prepare us for our journey into the realm of strategic thinking, let's learn some of the key terms, definitions, and concepts that we use throughout the course. First, strategic intent. Strategy aims to advance our own big ideas. Strategic thinking has a term for this, these big ideas. It's what business academics Gary Hamel and C.K. Prahalad called strategic intent. Strategic intent is essential to any powerful and effective strategy. For Coca-Cola decades ago, this was making it possible to buy a Coke anywhere in the entire world. For Tata Motors in the 21st century, this was building and selling the world's cheapest car.